Welcome to CBS Sports HQ. Jenny Dell here on this Wednesday afternoon. If you're a sports fan, it's just a great time of year. We got the Stanley Cup playoffs, early season baseball, some riveting first round NBA playoff matchups, and of course, the NFL draft coming up. Just 1 day away from draft night. It's all going down tomorrow evening in Green Bay, Wisconsin. We have you covered here on HQ, from pre-draft chatters to instant analysis. You are in the right place, and that brings us to our NFL draft prop-a-palooza. We got our betting expert, Mackenzie Brooks, our football analyst, Danny Kannel, holding it down in Studio 3. Take it away, you two.
Thank you, Jenny. I have recently, probably the last 4 or 5 years, maybe since COVID, have really started following the draft betting market.
It
was something I've never even considered before. And all of a sudden, like, you can find some value plays on some of these if you play it the right way. That's why you're here. We'll see if I can get lucky and find one too. So let's start it off with the draft position. You can find a bunch of different players on the market, where they'll go over a certain spot in the first round. Who do you like from that perspective?
So I'm going to look at Malachi Starks here, go with a little go dog situation here. Now, he's at 23.5 is the line. 24 would be the Minnesota Vikings. That's obviously where he's been linked to a lot. But I do think it's worth the chance and worth betting on him to go a little bit earlier, go under that 23.5. There's a few teams that could use him. And in general, you look at his just all of his objective stats that we've seen, like guys who grade out like him tend to go higher than 23.5. I think, you know, scouts are looking at all the same numbers I am. So I think there's a chance maybe it's Miami who takes him. They lost Holland. They're looking to trade Jalen Ramsey. This is a team who wants to compete right now in the playoffs. So I think drafting a safety is definitely a very good consideration for them. Or a team like Cincinnati, who just spent their entire wallet on their offense, now really needs some help with their defense. So that's another good look for him. But as far as just his ultra productivity, his RAS score, he really maps out close to a guy like Brian Branch. So I just think 23.5 could be a little low. I could see his team taking him early.
I like it. I found a wide receiver from what, and LSU fans might not be happy with this, but recently Ohio State has been wide receiver U, right?
Yes.
They have pumped out first-round receivers, and we haven't heard much about Emeka Egbuka. It's all been about Matthew Golden. It's been about Tetairoa McMillan. I think the most NFL-ready wide receiver is Emeka Egbuka, and I think there's a chance he gets drafted higher than 26th in the NFL draft. I think when you look at it, it hasn't been talked about as a great wide receiver class. Been like, it's not that good. I think he's the one player that could surprise and maybe be the second receiver off the board. I haven't seen many places have him as the first or second. I think he could be the second receiver off the board and go way higher than people think because he's NFL ready. When I talked to him in Indianapolis, he was one of those guys that just oozes professionalism, even at the college level. I think he's polished as a route runner. I think you can trust the system that he's played in, where he's come from as far as Brian Hartline being his position coach, played in the NFL. He'll be ready to go. So I think Emeka Egbuka goes before that 26.5 pick. All right, on to the next one. This is one of my fun ones because you can actually find some real value here and get some longer odds, and it's player with the team. So you got to match up the player with the team they're going to get drafted by. Who do you like?
I'm going a little bit of a long shot here, and I like Jackson Dart to potentially go to Pittsburgh. You can find that around plus 600. This is basically a play on the whole Shedeur Sanders, no one wants him, is all a smoke and mirror, smoke screen type of situation. I still think there's a very good chance that he's a top 15, top 20 pick, and then that does leave room for a guy like Jackson Dart to be the third quarterback off the board and go to the Steelers. Obviously, this is a position that they need desperately. There's not too many other needs that they should be looking for early in this draft. So this is essentially a play on, does Sanders go earlier? And I think at plus 600, definitely worth the chance there.
It absolutely is. I think whatever quarterback goes to the Steelers is going to have the best rookie season. You got George Pickens, DK Metcalf on the outside. And I think that I trust the organization over the Saints and the Titans as far as who's going to be there. All right, everybody loves Ashton Jeanty. So Ashton Jeanty's going to be drafted high. I don't think he falls to this team, but I am believing some of the reports that Chicago Bears might want to make a splash and trade up to get their running back. Ben Johnson takes over. We know the physical offensive approach he had in Detroit with not one but two backs in the backfield and the support he gave Jared Goff in the run game. I think they want to build the same thing. We've already seen them made moves for offensive linemen this offseason. I think this is sort of the missing piece. They're already pretty good at wide receiver. Rome Odunze last year they took. Obviously, Caleb Williams is that #1 overall pick. like they are missing the physicality, the back that can be a difference maker. So I'm going to buy into some of the rumors out there and say the Bears move up to get Ashton Jeanty. Plus 300, pretty good value there. So you might have a little bit of a return on investment. Okay, we haven't disagreed much yet. And this is very out of character because normally we're on the opposite sides of the spectrum. Quarterbacks in the first round, the number that is set is 2.5. Are there going to be more than or less than 2.5 quarterbacks taken in the first round?
See, I'm going, again, based off that bet I just made with Dart to Pittsburgh. I think this whole Sanders, nobody wants Sanders, he's disrespectful to front offices and all of those things. I think it's smoke and mirrors. And with that said, that means there should be 3 quarterbacks going in the first round with Ward, Sanders, and Dart here. Again, we hear all of these crazy type of rumors, and I understand that trades can change this entire draft with a flick of your finger. But again, this is just a situation where I think Sanders is still a top 15, top 20 quarterback.
I hate this draft class. I hate this quarterback class. So some of this is my personal belief that they're just not very good. But I've seen in years past where you got guys projected really high. Will Levis was somebody who was projected to be like a top 5 pick. Yeah. He went out of the first round. The year that Kenny Pickett's draft class was there were Desmond Ridder was a guy that everybody's hot on, drops out. Malik Willis was another quarterback that people were really high on, dropped all the way to the 3rd round. I think there are going to be some drops. And this is based on film study and projections of what I think these quarterbacks can do. Cam Ward is the only quarterback I think that I could envision getting a second contract in the league. I think it's nothing about Shedeur and his character, his last name. I think it's all about the film and the lack of arm strength and mobility. And Jackson Dart, I think, is just a 2nd round pick all day long. So I'm going to say 2 or less in the first round.
I remember you this time last year, you were like, if Bo Nix goes early,
why you gotta bring up that? That's
job.
Not cool.
Listen, we saw between Penix and Nix, top 15 quarterbacks between the 2 of them. So you never know what's going to happen. But I do remember Danny walking through the office being
just bringing up bad
not Bo
stuff.
Nix. He's not going early.
I had a beard for 3 months because of that
just saying. I've seen this movie before, and I like the way it ends.
All right, let's get to your best bet then. What's the best bet you like of the night?
So this is a little safer than some of the other bets I've been giving out. I've done this a lot where you're looking at one specific team and you're taking them to draft 2 different positions at plus money, knowing you can guarantee profit. This is either going to be half a unit or 0.8 units, but again, better than losing money. And you look at the Niners, they've been linked to offensive linemen and defensive linemen constantly. I'd say 90% of mock drafts have them taking an O-line or a D-line. So when you can get good plus money on both, I think it's worth just sprinkling on both of them. And this is even gives you the insurance of even if they trade up or trade down, this is what they need. They have their skill players. They're about to pay their quarterback. They need help in the trenches. And I think we're getting, honestly, a really good price on either.
All right, I'm going to go. See, I feel like the top 4 picks are pretty set in stone.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at for a top 5 pick bet, it's basically essentially you're betting on who that 5th pick overall is going to be. The Ashton Jeanty I mentioned earlier, the Bears trade up, I might get hosed on this bet.
Right.
But I look at Mason Graham out of Michigan as a defensive tackle who they're not sitting on every street corner. He's incredibly active with his hands. He can clog up the middle, and he's very, very productive on the interior. I think in a draft where there's not, especially outside of those top 3 players, there's a lot of interchangeable pieces. People say, oh, I can find another defensive lineman, or I can get another offensive lineman or a receiver. There's not that much that separates them. I think Mason Graham is at the top of the next list. I don't think he's in that crew of the top 3, but I think he's the top of the next best available. So I'm going to say that Mason Graham is a top 5 pick. Also one of the only top 5 pick bets you can find plus money on. So a plus 150, pretty good value there.
I like that a lot. He's been linked to the Jags, who are 5 right now.
Yep.
He's been minus 145 at one point to go to the Jags, and now you just see all this, again, late smoke and mirrors, Jeanty going to the Jags. You think that's really true? I think now that you get plus 150 on this guy to potentially be linked to the Jags after we've known he was working out in their t-shirt. You don't do that unless you feel that confident you're going to that team. So I will agree with you there, Danny.
Should be fun. I'm tired of the smoke and mirrors. I'm tired of rumors. I can't wait to see who gets picked where. Should be some drama. It's going to be an incredibly fun night. Hopefully can make some money off it. Jenny, back to you.
That's a part of the draft, though. It's all about the smoke and mirrors, you guys. You got to get ready for that as we prepare for the draft coming up tomorrow. If you want more betting angles and betting takes, every morning at 10 a.m. Eastern, the Early Edge is live, breaking down the day's action across the NFL, college football, NBA, Major League Baseball, so on and so forth. All you could want and need getting ready for this draft. You got to check it out. Scan that QR code today. After the break, we're looking to our expert Josh Pate with his top 5 players to know in this year's NFL draft. Who makes the cut? That's next.